Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio, it's time for the GNFCC 400 Insider. Connect, build, and grow with the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 400 Insider, the monthly radio show and podcast of the Greater North Fulton Chamber. I'm Carisa Turner, Senior Director of External Affairs and Economic Development here at the Chamber, and I am so thrilled to be joined today in the studio by three amazing business leaders in North Fulton to talk about what has been one of the Chamber's signature programs for more than 30 years, Leadership North Fulton. So without further ado, let me introduce our guests, and then we will hop right in. First up, we have Ben Huard with us, who is the Managing Director of GO, a full-service marketing and communications agency with its Southeast presence here in Milton. He is a current member of our Leadership North Fulton class, the class of 2023. He is also the chair of our Milton Business Council and a Greater North Fulton Chamber board member. We also have Lalitha Alladi, Senior Associate with JMG Law Firm, where she specializes in business and family-based immigration law. She is the current co-chair of this year's program and was a member of the Leadership North Fulton class of 2022. And last but certainly not least, we have Margaret Shiver from our team at the Chamber. She is our leadership programs coordinator and oversees all of our leadership programming. She is a member of the LNF class of 2018, back when she was working at the Cottage School, and we are so proud to call her a team member today. So first of all, welcome all of you to our show. Thanks so much for being with us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We're so excited for the conversation. And so before we begin and really get into your experiences going through the program and talking about what it's like for those of our listeners who might be interested in participating this year, I want to give just a brief overview of what this program is and its place within our community, because I think that's really important to help set the tone. So for those of you who may be listening who don't know, what is Leadership North Fulton and what is it like to participate? What do these people do when they go through the program? It's a program that runs every year from September through June. There's about 30 to 35 community leaders from all industries. We have city staff that go through. We have business leaders, nonprofit leaders. We have elected officials that go through. We have economic development folks. Anyone who wants to learn more about what it means to lead within your community applies into the program, is accepted, and then goes through. We follow basically a traditional school schedule, September through a little bit after Labor Day. And the program basically meets once a month, and each of those sessions, it's an all-day session where the program participants dive into different topics. They learn about government, they learn about economic development, they learn about education, public safety, healthcare, the nonprofit scene here, really all geared toward both growing the participants individually as leaders, but also looking at an eye with what does it look like to grow this group and this region from a community leadership standpoint, showing and helping them actually learn on the ground what it takes to run and grow and have a flourishing community together. And so that's really what the focus of the Leadership North program is and has been for more than 3 decades at this point. So with that behind us, Margaret, let me know if I missed anything, but I think we covered the basics there.
I think that's everything.
Okay, good. All right, so let's hop in, because the thing that's really exciting about this program is that people come out of this really impacted by what it was like. It's hard for me to start and really give you an accurate picture with just a couple words and an overview of the program. So what I love to do is spend some time getting a little bit of an inside scoop from each of our participants and panelists here today. So let's just hit the ground running. So first and foremost, Lalitha, I'm going to start with you for this question, but I love all of you to answer it.
Yep.
Can you share a little bit with our listeners what initially piqued your interest in applying to be part of this program? And essentially what I'm asking is, what's the story behind how you got involved and why?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was new to Atlanta. I came here during COVID, just as it began, March 2020. So I didn't know anybody here, and I wanted to find a way to get to know people in my community a little better. And it was recommended to me by someone in my law firm that, one, I join Greater North Fulton Chamber, but also look into this leadership program. And then when I started looking into it and talking to others about it, I just learned what a great reputation it has compared to, there are several chambers that do offer this, but this chamber really had such a great reputation that I knew that if I was going to apply for one, this was going to be the leadership program I wanted to join.
Awesome. Well, we always love hearing that, for sure.
Yeah.
Ben, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think it's the same. I think the reputation of the chamber kind of speaks for itself. When we opened the office here in 2017, one of the things we wanted to do was to get involved in the chamber. And through that process, meeting Callie and great leaders like John here, I was surrounded by a bunch of people that had gone through the program. And I didn't realize, maybe, I guess God speaks to you in different ways, or like, how are you going to, what's your path? And my path, there was 7 or 8 people talking to me, specifically one, Jamie Bendel from the class of 2014, who's a close friend of mine. He said, you gotta, come with me, come do this in 2014. I was like, I'm not ready. Someone else in 15, someone else in 16. I was like, when am I going to be ready? And like any leader, your journey doesn't stop. And as you kind of check more boxes, you get yourself ready for certain things. And I just don't think I was ready until I kind of jumped in. There was a lot of people encouraging me, and they still are. And I appreciate that group of people. So it was a lot of encouragement through over a long period of time for me specifically to get involved.
Love it. Margaret, what about you?
Well, my journey is a little bit different. So I used to work at the cottage school as a high school counselor. And they look for people, I guess, with their employees and at the school to participate in the leadership program. And I was nominated and honored to be selected one year. So I went through it in 2017 and 2018. And it was a really great opportunity. I think deep down, I too wanted to be more involved in North Fulton. I had just moved to Alpharetta a year before that. And I was honored because it really gave me an opportunity to connect with other people in North Fulton, to get involved in nonprofits and kind of find my place here in the community. And so, the stories are always different with how people got connected and involved. But I was very happy and grateful that I had the opportunity with the school to participate in the program and be one of those, selected. So.
And now here you are several years later. You are involved in the program on a regular basis. Imagine that.
And that's my path.
Yes.
I'll add too, we have an office in Hartford, Connecticut, and there's a leadership Greater Hartford that my business partner is involved in too. And so when he got involved, he was another one saying, I thought you were talking about this chamber and you're going to get involved. And so it comes from a lot of places. And I think that the program itself people know about the program wherever they live. And I think it's important to maybe kind of open your eyes to it.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is, for sure. All right. So I'd love to know what are 1 or 2 things that really stuck with you since being part of the program? Ben, I'm going to start with you because you're a current class participant. So you are in the thick of it right now. You are in the middle of, you're like several months in and have a couple more to go.
Yep.
So I'm going to start with you because it hopefully is very fresh and you can pull out one of those and then we'll go from there. But what's something that's really resonated with you?
Well, I think for me, a few things stick out. Now, the first one is probably the diversification of people that are in the program, like the different companies, the different types of people, the different titles they have or positions they lead. I still am impressed when I talk to folks in our class that are, they hold these different positions that I wasn't sure, like, it's funny, like what's a leader, right? Mm-hmm. And you read every leadership book you ever read says titles aren't it. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth. And I think that's one of the things that sticks out to me in our class specifically. And the second thing is I wanted to learn more about our community. I live, work, and play in basically Crabapple, Milton area. And I have friends that work in local government there. I've coached their children in lacrosse there. And so getting to know those people where we live, I think is so important, right? And my wife is so funny. She's like, boy, you know everybody now. You know the mayor and your friends with all these people in high places. And, it just goes to show like the reach and the impact that the chamber has. And what we're learning here is really important on a local level, but it opens your eyes to a bigger picture type things.
It does. Is there a particular topic that you found most compelling of all the topics so far? Government, economic development, the education.
For me, nonprofit.
Yeah. Nonprofit.
Yeah. Okay. So at the agency, we were lucky to work with a lot of nonprofits, and I didn't have really the visibility of how many awesome people are doing awesome things in our community. And so I love it. So our project now is focused on one of them, helping, with their mission. And I think, I don't know, we could just continue on. I could do a lot more of these nonprofit projects. It speaks to my heart. Mm-hmm. So
I love that. Lalitha, what about you?
Yeah. For me, what really was a takeaway was that this was really about growth in several ways. I joined it for growth in getting to know people. But while I was in the program, I realized that I was also growing by learning about the community. It was unexpected. When I signed up, that's not what I would specifically signed up for, but I loved that that's what I got out of it. I remember every time we had a presentation, I'd come out of it thinking, wow, I did not know that, that movies, for example, it's a huge industry here. We're like a second Hollywood over here in Georgia. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that industry was so big here. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. And so things like that, every class day, it would be a totally different topic, whether it was education day or of course there's the one where we have, I don't want to give it away. Let me think about it.
Don't
no, but there's also
secrets.
medical. There's also a day when you visit a hospital and there are things that go on in the background. There's so much you learn about other industries that you didn't know about. And sometimes we tend to, when we go day in and day out to our work, we only think about our own work, right? It's like a tunnel vision. So this is a great way to gain exposures about other people's careers, other areas and industries. Because at the end of the day, we all have to work together to have a good community. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to know how this is all interwoven. And I think that was really what I got out of it in terms of the big picture.
Mm. That's a good point, like the unexpected, right? Mm-to I think Poverty Day for me was it opens your eyes.
It does.
You see how, because we to your point, we kind of live in this bubble. We work in our own lanes. Mm-hmm. And I think what's been enlightening to me has been those side, unexpected things that you learn along the way. Yeah. It's been great.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. We hear time and time again that people come out with a new appreciation for all the different facets of the community that's been around them for years.
Right.
But they never have really stopped to have the time to dive into it and to get a greater sense for what's around them and both the challenges and the opportunities, the things that are really great and the things that are areas that need to change or, you need more community thoughts on that. So there's so much benefit to more and more people going through this and understanding the unique needs of a community and how it really takes collective leadership across industries, which is represented and shown through this program.
Right.
And I love hearing, and we didn't prime you for these answers. We love that they're just coming out so naturally. That's great. Was there, Lalitha, was there a specific day or topic that struck you the way that the nonprofits did for Ben?
It's really hard. I had a lot of favorites. Yeah. I didn't just pick one, but I think the education day was actually quite interesting. Maybe not one that most people would pick, but to know what totally different types of schools we have just in like fundamental education. We were looking at high schools and middle schools basically, but it's just such a diverse type of education available even at that quote basic level. And my kids are young, so I'd only visited a whole bunch of elementary schools to make my decisions. But now it really let me know that in the future, these are the types of choices we'll make for our kids. And it changes their path, and how they'll proceed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Margaret, I feel tempted to ask you the same question, but I'm not sure I can ask you to pick a favorite day since you oversee this program now. That feels slightly unfair, but I'm going to do it anyway. What is your favorite one? I know that I wasn't primed for that question, but yes.
Right, besides right now.
What's your favorite one of all the ones? Yes.
So it's interesting because I went through it 5 years ago, and so there's a lot of things now that I plan that we didn't get to do, back then. Different leadership, different days that were based on the schedule and that kind of thing. So I sit back, and even though I'm behind the scenes planning for each day, I'm learning something every day, like the participants are as well. I really enjoyed the Arts and Culture Day at the City Springs Theater. And I think one of the fun takeaways was we had this improv opportunity, and you could tell the people, like, they were really uncomfortable. And I was a little like, I don't know, but I'm going to just go in with the group and participate as well. And by the end of that activity, you could see everyone kind of loosened up and we're having a lot of fun. And I think it was a great experience too for everyone to kind of bond and connect and continue to build that relationship.
Well, and I feel like, that was such a great activity, like many others that we have throughout the year. that allows you to break down your guard, because how are we going to work together as leaders if we don't break down our guard? And those boundaries have to be broken, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, the improv class, we have a great group of a lot of extroverts. So a lot of them didn't have a problem doing that, but you could see that the ones that maybe were less likely to step out eventually did. And that's growth right there. So it was really cool to watch. Yeah. Participating and behind the scenes as well. So
improv is interesting, right? Yes, and.
We should do it every time.
100%. Yes, and.
Yes.
We should include
I love it. All right.
brewery.
Yes, and a brewery. Yeah. Margaret, I'm going to stay on you for just a minute, because the next thing I want to talk about is the way that this leadership program is different from other leadership development training or programs that some of our listeners may have been part of, whether it's through, their business, their professional industries and associations, or whether it's just through independent study and reading. A lot of us who are in leadership roles are constantly wanting to learn how to become better leaders. But this particular program is very different from a lot of other programs. And I'd love to dive into a little bit of what that looks like. So can you talk about that for us?
Sure. And I think that we've already touched on this word a lot already, but it's the community aspect of this leadership program, and really highlighting North Fulton and the cities in North Fulton and what we're doing in healthcare and education with nonprofits. And with any leadership program, I think a lot of times they are kind of individualized. So you're focusing on your own personal growth, and we do have personal growth in this program, but it is very community oriented, especially with the project and picking a nonprofit each year. And that's super important. And if you live here in North Fulton, you kind of understand that anyways. Like, we're a part of community here, right? So whatever city you might live in, people love it here. They love to work here. They love to live here. And so highlighting that community leadership is super important for Leadership North Fulton.
Ben, anything you would add to that?
Yeah, I think, you're right about learning, right? Everybody wants to learn and trying to always learn. Every step of the way, every day. For me, I was really fortunate to have a series of managers or bosses in my professional career that I one-on-one were amazing people, and I still work with a lot of the same people today. So I'm lucky. But this is the first time I'm experiencing loads of leaders. Mm-hmm. And it's eye-opening because it's funny. Has anyone read the Simon Sinek book, Leaders Eat Last? Yep, everybody has. Oh, okay, that's really cool, right? Have you read, you can do the whole list of books, right? And from there, it's amazing that what I've learned out of the process, coming from like one-on-one, mentorship, we'll call it, to now in a group setting, you can learn from literally everyone. And that's what I'm learning about myself. And that's my maybe my personal journey, but I coach 10-year-olds in lacrosse, and I learn from those kids. I do. It's amazing, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It went from one-on-one for me for a lot of years to being surrounded by these amazing people with, smarter than me, more, it goes on and on and on, but I love that. And I think that's kind of a humbling experience. But I don't want to ever leave it. I don't want to be without a group of people that I can call fellow leaders.
Do you want to be in our class again next year?
I'll take the class again next year.
Well, this is going to be a great segue back to one of my last questions for Margaret about what you can do after you go through the program.
Go through it again.
I know.
I do want to add, can I add one more?
Of course you can. Yeah.
Okay. For community, and Ben talked about this too with the nonprofits. For me personally, I got connected with the Drake House. When I went through the program, they were forming, one of the projects was the Young Professionals Advisory Council. And so I was looking at the time to get more involved. I had, been in Alpharetta for a little bit over a year, was looking for ways to volunteer. So I applied and, got selected to be a part of this council. And from there, I've made great friendships, and that's the whole community thing. You're looking for ways to serve, you're meeting more people in the area. But that was super impactful for me as well, just on a personal level too. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And that really speaks to the ongoing value of going through this and having those connections past this.
Right.
That it really creates a community of like-minded leaders who all have the same experience, the collective experience that you've had. you immediately have that in common with other people in other class years, even that you just have this commonality with, which I think is really unique and speaks to that ongoing value. Love that. All right, Lalitha, my next question is for you.
Okay.
And it's because I love your story. You came out of last year going through the program and you immediately signed up to be a co-chair for the next year.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear from you on what motivated you to take on that role coming out of last year's program and how being in that role this year has continued to grow and shape you as a leader as you've been part of the other side.
I think that when you join this chamber, it's just, like you just want to be a part of more programs and it does have so many great programs. And I have been fortunate to be involved in several of them. And when I was, asked like, hey, is this something you might be interested in? Yes, because one, I get to meet, just like Ben said, a whole nother group of leaders. And I get to see it from a fresh perspective as well. Because now some of it's already set in, right? Not everything is going to be like, every time I hear it. But now that I do know what I know from learning in this class, I'm looking at it now at a deeper level. Because sometimes some of it's already sunk in and now I can look at it. I joke because my dad's a math professor and he said, like, you took calculus in high school, but that's nothing. I want you to retake it in college. Then you'll really learn it. He wasn't wrong. My grade was a lot better because I'd learned the basics and then I was able to get in deeper. And that's how I feel about this program, because once I learned it, I felt like there was a lot more I got out of it the second time. Also, I feel that sometimes if I enjoyed something and I thought it was great, I'd love to be a part of giving back with respect to that. So that happened. Like, I felt that way throughout my career. If I saw that I learned something from a mentor, I want to pass that on. It's not a secret. I want somebody to benefit from that. And so that's what's great about being a co-chair, is that my co-chair, Jeff, and I, we get to impart whatever we learned to this class should they want that information.
Very
from us.
helpful,
Yeah.
I may add. Very helpful. Good insight.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right, Margaret, back to you, because we're going to talk a little bit about the future of Leadership North Fulton, which is something that you and I are discussing a lot recently. Where we take this in the future and what does leadership look like in North Fulton in the next 10 years. And so could you share a little bit high-level vision for where we're headed?
Right. So we have discussed a lot and, the vision that we both have. So we started the Leadership North Fulton Alumni Program last year as our inaugural year and really created it for the class participants to re-engage with their former classmates, to offer opportunities for leadership training. We actually just had a training a couple weeks ago where we had someone come in and work through different things that they might encounter as a leader. And so that's just an idea and kind of a snippet of what I envision and what we've talked about, possibly creating day-long leadership trainings. And really the possibilities are endless. We have new people on our team that have really great ideas for what that looks like. And so I'm excited because I think the people that go through the program, they want to be re-engaged. They want, they take in so much information that the 10 months that they're in the leadership program. And when they graduate, then having opportunities for them to come back and really continue to learn. And things might be different 5 or 10 years from North Fulton. I mean, obviously the growth is going to continue to grow and what's going on in each city. And so having opportunities for them to learn more about that and continue to be a leader in our community is super important. And we want to kind of be that hub, for them to seek that as well.
I love that re-engagement of the alumni group. I don't think it's been, because it's kind of a newer thing. I think I personally would like more of that. And to your point, Lalitha, about, your dad. And so my wife's a teacher. She taught 5th grade, 2nd grade. Now she's a kindergarten teacher. And and she teaches me every day. She's a Ben teacher, number one, right? But I'm super grateful for her perspective in a lot of things, because I don't think you really ever learn anything unless you can teach it. And maybe that's what your dad was kind of hinting toward a little bit, but I think the alumni group can offer a ton of value, and it'll sink in deeper.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's in the beginning stages, and so we're excited to be able to see all the ways it can grow. And it goes back to your point before of you don't really want it to end at the end of the year. You want it to keep going. And so the intention, I know, in the heart of that and launching that last year was let's give our class members something to continue on with us. And what does it look like to have this really big community of Leadership North Fulton graduates who are consistently engaged and are helping shape what's actually happening, that it doesn't end in June each year with the graduation and okay, now you go back to your regular life, that you stay engaged, that you you become part of the voice of shaping what happens in our community and help us drive that forward, because it really is a group effort to create these strong, flourishing communities. I love the idea of having one day someone in every single business in every single city in North Fulton have someone that's gone through Leadership North Fulton. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, it's a good goal.
Big goals,
right?
And I'll add too, with the leadership training portion, it's not just the educational, but it's also social.
It's very social.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
We're having a social tomorrow night, and that's the whole idea, is to reconnect. People haven't seen their classmates in a while. It's been a busy year. And so we want to provide that opportunity as a chamber for them to reconnect.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because it isn't all about just learning. Like we don't just sit you in a classroom and teach at you the whole time. It is really about connection and relationships. So I'm glad you brought us back to that.
Yeah.
All right. So in closing, I would love to leave our listeners today, and I'm going to ask this of every one of you to share. If someone is listening and they're like, oh, this sounds pretty neat, I might be interested. What closing encouragement or piece of advice or last charge would you give somebody? And anyone can go first. I've been calling on you. Lalitha, you're ready. I can see you. Yes, you go.
Yeah, it was something that Ben said. Don't wait a number of years.
She just took my answer.
Don't be Ben, is what she's saying.
Right. Be better.
But if you're interested, right? Yeah. If people are telling you it's very interesting and you're hearing it from several sources, then and they're talking to you about it. So yes, it is for you then. Right? So I'd say go ahead and give it a try, and you don't know what you're going to get from it, because there are, as I've talked about before, there's several things you get out of it. But if you walk away with just one or two things that you've learned from it, then you've won. You've grown.
Literally stole my entire answer. Wow. I think it's a bit of a calling. Yeah. Right. I think that's what you're getting at. And for me, if you feel like if you're asking yourself the question, is this for me? It probably is. Because otherwise you're not even thinking about it at all. That's what I would say. And don't wait. Do it sooner than later. Don't be Ben. Be better.
Hashtag don't be Ben.
Better than Ben.
Better than Ben. You are in marketing. What about you?
Well, I'm in a different position because I run the program. But having gone through it myself, I would say the same thing. I think it's don't wait. And you brought up this point earlier about, just because the title doesn't mean necessarily anything. So if whatever your position is in career, maybe you're between jobs, this is an opportunity for you to grow personally and professionally. And so don't wait, and it's going to be a great program. So please join us next year.
Yes, and if you are listening, there is a deadline coming up to apply, which we'll talk about in just a minute too. So there is some urgency. So we're going to apply urgency in a good way here. Don't wait. There is some urgency. So, oh my goodness, I love it. Thank you guys so much for being with us here today, and just for your excitement and your belief in this program and the way that it's impacting and shaping our region. We are so grateful for all of you and all that you're doing to really help make North Fulton thrive. And this is a big part of that. So thank you. And thank you to all of you, our listeners. If you are interested in learning more or applying to be part of the 2023-2024 program, we invite you to visit our website at gnfcc.com. The application deadline for next year's program is April 1st, so there's a good bit of urgency. You have about a month if you listen to this right when it drops. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us, specifically Margaret from our team who was on the show with us today. Her contact info is on the website, and I know that she would love to connect with you about the program and answer any questions you may have.
Same.
Ben will too. I'm sure Lalitha will too. Thank you for that. Okay. Reach out to them directly. You can find them on LinkedIn, I'm sure, and they'll field your questions and tell you the real story.
That's right.
And of course, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Until next time, I'm Carisa Turner, and this has been the 400 Insider presented by the Greater North Fulton Chamber on Business RadioX.